World celebrates International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. President Barrow says his government is setting up plans to eliminate corruption. These and more coming on Gambia 24. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Gambia 24 News Bulletin with me, Mariama Cham. Thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Corruption in Gambia's public sector is perceived to be very high, especially among the top levels in public institutions. However, President Adama Barrow said on Friday that his government is setting up plans and policies to eliminate corrupt practices in government. Fatimata Kasim tells us more.
In an interview with iAfrica TV on Friday, President Barrow said his government plans to eliminate corruption through policies. He said one of the ways corruption will be tackled is through the use of government's e-pay system.
I think my government and the IMS government is just like day and light. What the Mandinkas call shoot on in Tilo. It's completely different. It's not the same. That's why, because we have taken a lot of measures. It's part of our reforms. Part of the reforms, we now want to eliminate cashiers. We want people to be paying to banks. Now we are going into the e-system. You know that now salaries, we are now paying from PMO, our salaries, because we have migrated to the e-system. Even if you are in the Gambia, you receive your salary as the day president receives his salary, today. Even on your telephone, you can receive salary. So there is efficiency, and that have eliminated corruption. First time you have paymasters going all over, everywhere, going with money and everything. There are a lot of corruption involved in that. We have eliminated all that. First time, even we have to pass through the central bank to pay. Now we don't go to the central bank. We pay direct. And also, there was an audit. The audit also revealed a lot of things. We were paying a lot of money to people who are not working for government. We have eliminated that now. We have saved Gambia a lot of money. So I think this government is very serious about corruption.
However, even as the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Fisheries, Dr. Bamba Banja, was accused of taking bribe and got suspended, President Barrow said it is an isolated case and that it is being dealt with by Commission of Inquiries.
These are isolated cases that have happened. Is unfortunate, but we have set up an inquiries. You know, in a democracy, it's not easy. If democracy was easy, nobody will be encouraged to respect democracy. It's because it's difficult. If it is dictatorship, you can go and arrest people, jail them, you do that. But now you cannot do that. What you do is you follow due process. The due process is we have suspended the man concerned. The man who is accused, we are now investigating. After the investigation, then the report comes. That's the time now we will decide what to do.
The Gambia is ranked 96 of 180 countries in Transparency International's 2019 Corruption Perspection Index as a score of 37 over 100. This means that the perception of public corruption in government is still very high. Fatmata Kasim, iAfrica TV.
That was President Adama Barrow's plans, his government's plans to eliminate corruption in public institutions. Now, since 2013, the 2nd of November has been set aside by the United Nations General Assembly to commemorate the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, as the day is also used to remember the assassination of 2 French journalists in Mali in November. Let's take a listen to this report.
This landmark resolution condemns all attacks and violence against journalists and media workers. It also urges member states to do their utmost to prevent violence against journalists and media workers, to ensure accountability, bring to justice perpetrators of crimes against journalists and media workers, and ensure that victims have access to appropriate remedies. It further calls upon states to promote a safe and enabling environment for journalists to perform their work independently and without undue interference. Volkan Bozkır, president of the UN General Assembly, said that journalists should be protected at all times. Bozkır also acknowledges the dangers journalists face in executing their work around the globe.
Today, as we mark the International Day to end impunity for crimes against journalists, we must do our utmost to prevent violence against media workers and create a safe and enabling environment for journalists to perform their work independently and without undue interference. We must support those brave individuals who put themselves in often difficult or dangerous situations to get us the information we need, to challenge us to be the voice of the unheard and to hold those in power accountable. It's our job to protect journalists so they can keep doing their job.
The UN General Assembly President also highlighted the important role journalists play in every society. He acknowledges the tremendous work journalists are doing, especially risking their lives gathering information for the public in these trying times of the pandemic.
Journalists play an incredibly important role in our lives, sometimes at great personal risk. They bring us invaluable information from around the world to right here at home. They are the embodiment of free speech, a fundamental pillar of any free and democratic society. During the pandemic, journalists have been on the front lines in the fight to get the truth out. It's critical time for fact-based reporting. With COVID-19, incorrect information can be deadly.
For the past 12 years, more than 1,000 journalists have been killed for reporting the news and bringing information to the public. In 9 out of 10 cases, the killers go unpunished. Impunity leads to more killings and is often a symptom of worsening conflict and the breakdown of law and judicial systems. The UN agency responsible for promoting press freedom and freedom of expression, UNESCO, said in a statement that it is concerned that impunity damages whole societies by covering up serious human rights abuses, corruption, and crime. Reporting for Africa News, I am Mariama Cham.
That was the President of the UN General Assembly addressing the International Day to End Impunity of Crimes Against Journalists. Now joining me live to talk about the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists in the Gambia is Mustafa K. Dabo, a multiple award-winning Gambian journalist. Thank you, Mustafa, for joining us.
I'm glad to be.
Mustafa, the Gambian media has yet to see the killers of Dada Haidara and those behind the disappearance of Chief Ibrahim Mane brought to book. How significant to Gambian journalists is this International Day Against Impunity?
I think when it comes to renewed attacks against journalists, there are being a marked improvement in terms of state-sanctioned attacks against journalists. What haven't changed, however, is what is done about other forms of attacks when they occur against journalists. For example, since the change happened in 2017, I mean, before we talk about the Dada Hydra situation, a number of attacks were made on journalists. Your iAfrica TV correspondent, cameraman, Mr. Lamin Manga was attacked. A number of others also happened, GRTS, at the burial ground of the former president's mother. And also, just recently, King FM was illegally shut down and the Home Digital FM. And then, all these things, nothing happened. Political parties attacked journalists. Police have also had their own fair share of the problem. A number of attacks happen, and so far, all that happens is that nothing happens. So, I mean, those are the challenges. So, I mean, impunity, probably you may not need to go to Dada's case to see that that's continuing into the so-called New Gambia.
So why is it important to bring an end to crimes against journalists globally?
Well, one of the biggest challenges we have faced, and that's the primary reason why we can't combat impunity in these countries, because there had not been effective prosecution of all the crimes that are committed against journalists. In fact, there had not been any adequate investigation into these crimes. So, and then this has been the problem, and this is the reason why crimes can't be fought effectively and efficiently. Crimes against journalists.
Okay, now finally, under the dictatorship of ex-President Yahya Jammeh, some journalists were killed.
I mean, a lot of things had happened under Jammeh, especially against journalists, and a lot of those instances you've mentioned about the Leader Hydra, Chief Mani, and some other tortures and things like that. For some of those crimes, there was some semblance of justice. I mean, you may be aware of the ECOWAS reports in the case of Chief Mani and Leader Hydra, but I mean, largely impunity continues from the former regime into the next. And I'm not sure whether we can still continue to blame Jammeh for those impunity, because there is an opportunity right now to hold certain people who are responsible for those crimes committed under Jammeh to.
Well, that was Mustafa K. Dabo, talking to us on the day of the International Day to End Impunity of Crimes Against Journalists. Now that chat with Mustafa will take us to a first break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now to the rest of our stories. The leader of the United Democratic Party, Usainu Dabo, on Saturday laid the foundation stone for a political bureau in Sanyang, accompanied by a huge crowd. The party leader as planned, but he and some UDP parliamentarians and party supporters who were at Sanyang spoke to iAfrica TV. More details in this report.
At Sanyang, the UDP converged a huge crowd to welcome its leader, and Africa TV had conversation with UDP parliamentarians and party supporters on the ground. Amongst them was Momodu LK Sane, the deputy, who said UDP is gaining grounds and constituencies in the country are competing to see the establishment of UDP bureau in their areas.
In the life of the party that has been formed since 1996, and since then the party is growing from strength to strength. Today is a foundation stone in the Combo North constituency. So therefore it's very significant, and the party is gaining momentum, is growing from strength to strength, because really all constituencies in the work political bureau for United Democratic Party as a result moment for the party, and it's a big achievement for the party.
The UDP parliamentarian for Combo East, Lamin NF Konta, said UDP has principles and represents the wishes and aspirations of Gambians, and that transparency and accountability will be a certainty come 2021 when they form the new government.
But the UDP party, the party Miyalongo, is a party of principles. UDP, it's a party of principles and they have a vision. They have a mission on which the party is run, and they never relent. Anything they are doing, they do it with guiding principles. So on that note, and accountability will be the order of the day come 2021 when the UDP government.
Ami Baji, alias Jola Baji of Lamen, said UDP will defeat President Barrow in the coming elections. And just as Jambe.
Yaya is better than Adama, somebody who sacked his father, beat his brothers and insulted your helpers. Your enemies who said you are always sleeping are now your friends. But let him know UDP is the party he came from, and we haven't done much to Yaya Jammeh. We will defeat Barrow in elections, and he will find it difficult to remain here in the Gambia.
The UDP then became part of the opposition alliance known as Coalition 2016, but after its leader was sacked by Barrow, its position as the main opposition party in the country, it is preparing grounds for the